All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. Today, we're going to be getting to the next section of the French Revolution. Now, if you remember from the last video we talked about the last class, we talked about the Women's March. You know, the women had enough. The poor people were destroying documentation, saying how much these people owed the nobles and things like that. Now it's starting to become more organized and more political. Okay, things are going to start really happening from here on out. So let's look at the objective today. We're going to analyze the Reign of Terror. What exactly is that? What was it about? And what, per se, happened during the Reign of Terror? Then we're going to examine the differences between the Girondins and the Jacobians. These are two groups that formed during this time, and we're going to talk about them. And lastly, the objective, we're going to create an argument on whether simply killing the nobles will fix everything. Okay? Remember, the nobles and the rich people and things like that, those people, um, some people felt, hey, this is simply killing them will fix everything. Because these are the people who caused all this pain and suffering of the peasants, so simply killing them will make things better. And that's what we're looking at. Is there any merit to that argument? Okay. All right. So here's your warm up picture. All right. The first question asks you to analyze this picture, foreground, background, things like that, and tell me in a nutshell what's going on here. Okay. Now, when you look at this picture, I want you guys to focus on one particular thing too. Look at the clouds. All right. Look at the background. All right. So here's my question to you on that. Okay. This is still pertains to number one, but do you think that background is showing that hey, things are getting dark or gloomy? Or do you think the sky is opening up and like light is coming in? You know, what do you think? What kind of setting do you think this is giving? Do you think it's a dark tone, or do you think it's like a new beginning and light coming in? What do you think? How do you interpret this picture on that one? Okay, so that's number one. The second question I have for you is, do you feel it's appropriate that a group of people like this gather around to watch someone get executed? Do you think that's appropriate? You know, to publicly watch someone get executed? Yes, no, why or why not? Tell me why, okay? Whichever you feel it is, okay? And again, remember, be honest, guys. This is an opinion piece, all right? I'm not looking for the PC stuff. I want to know what you really think. Is it appropriate to publicly watch someone get executed? Okay, so pause the video, write your response, because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so if you remember, Louis XVI, he was captured by the women during the Women's March. They made him come back to Paris as prisoners with his wife and kid. Thing is, Louis is still in power for about a year after this incident, after the Women's March. But there's still chaos going on. There's still food shortages. The military is kind of like, who's in charge? Who do we listen to? You know, and different people are saying, well, I'm in charge. I'm in charge. I've been here for longer. I'm a better leader. More people follow me, listen to me than you. Things are getting really bad. And there's even rumors of royalist conspiracies. Okay. Things got really, really, really bad to the point where the Minister of Justice, this guy right here in this picture, that is Georges Danton. He basically heard that there's going to be an attack on the palace, and he told the royal family, hey, you need protection. And he set it up with the Legislative Assembly. Okay, things were getting really, really, really bad in France. Now, before a national convention could be called, um, to basically kind of make the people feel like, okay, things are about to get better. This group of people are about to get together to make things better in our country. Before that could happen, riots broke out everywhere, all over. But mainly the big place that really, really hurt was Paris, France. The rioting broke out and things got really bad. Um, there was even rumors circling around saying that the nobles were going to try to stop the revolution one way or another, whether that meant hiring people from other countries, paying off people, promising people property, title, whatever. So all these riots that happened, people end up dying, and thousands of people are basically dead because of it. Right? We tend to think of writing right now as like, hey, you bust this property, this and that, but this is not only just destroying property, but also attacking one another. Things were again getting really bad during this time. All right, so September 1792, a newly elected national convention began. Okay, now these guys get together and they're meeting. The thing is, there's something very unique about this group of people. 2/3 of them, so for every three people, two of them are under the age of 45. That is pretty interesting. Now, I know to you as teenagers, you probably see like 45, that's old. But back then, to be a person who was in this type of group, to be younger than 45, to be in, like, say, your 30s, late 30s, mid 30s, that was seen as like, wow, kind of interesting. But the thing is, they had political experience. Not like they were some random Joe who used to work at a bakery shop and then got upset during the revolution and started getting into it. No, they were in politics. They've been in politics here and there. Not like one of the top people, but still, they were in the system. They know how things work. So again, they're young and they have experience. The thing is, almost all of the people, almost all the whole national convention did not trust the king. Okay? They didn't trust him completely. Some trusted him more than others. Some people did not trust him at all. Okay? So September 21st, 1792, the National Convention comes to its first major decision. Okay? First thing they actually all agree on, which is to abolish the monarchy and establish a French Republic. So, just in case you forgot, a monarchy is a system of government where you have a king, queen, and stuff like that in charge. They are the top people. Now they're saying, let's get rid of that. Get rid of the king, queen, and all stuff so that they're on top. No, now you go over here. And we're going to start a French Republic, in which a republic, the people have the power. Okay? Now, two groups spring up for this. Two political groups. Again, just about in every country, this always happens. Once people start saying, "Hey, we the people have the power," political parties start forming, and France is no exception. In our country, we have Republicans and Democrats. At this time, they had the Gironians and the Jacobians. Okay, or Jacobins. Yeah, Gironians and Jacobins. Um, the thing is, the Girondins felt that there were people who wanted to keep the king alive and in power. They were like, hey, they wanted to keep the king alive. Granted, yeah, he did some bad things, stuff like that. And the thing is, the king is not that great, but wing him off. Don't go cold turkey. And they're like, The Jacobins felt that the king needed to be executed to ensure that there could be no way that the king could come back. So it's like you cut off the royal blood, the royal family, boom, that's it. It's all over. Enough said. All right. And if the king is dead, people couldn't be like, well, there's still a chance we can get the king back into power. No, you killed off the royal family. You killed off the royal blood. What are you gonna do? Start anew? Who's gonna be new? You know. So it was that type of mentality that they had. Okay. All right. So here's your first question. Do you think that Jacobins had a point? That as long as the king is still alive, people, are going to want to put him back in power, or want him back in power. What do you think? And why do you think that? So if you say yes, um, I totally agree with them. If the king is still alive, people will, be like, well, you know what? Things are getting better, but I mean, it really should be the king because the king is the king. We've always had a king. You know, do you think that they're right that people will start to feel that way unless they kill him? Okay. So, pause the video, write your response, okay? Because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. So, here's the thing. January 21st, 1793, King Louis XVI is beheaded. Um, what they do is they actually cut off part of their hair and stuff like that. Um, the whole thing about last request and some of that. Yeah, they kind of did that too. Um, but it was basically like, let's do this. So what happened is they got this device called the guillotine. All right. Some of you guys already know what it is. Some of you guys don't. Basically, it's a long, tall, um, like wooden shaft that has a blade on top, and they just crank it up, right? And then they have a lever. As soon as that lever pulls, the blade just comes straight down using gravity to do its job with the force and cuts off the head. Okay, so that's what they did. They paraded him around. They let the crowd boo and this and all that to him. They give him his last rites, lay him down, face forward, put his head in the block, and then let the blade and cut off his head. Um, the thing is that was messed up was once they cut off his head, they kind of paraded around with it. They kind of like celebrated with it. Now, I'm not saying they got his head. It was like, do you want a cookie? Yes, I do. You want a cookie? They weren't doing things like that with his head, but they were kind of like, yeah, kind of barbarian type of things, like showing it off, like, yeah, yeah, woohoo, things like that. They weren't making it talk and things like that, nothing like that. But they were kind of barbarian style, holding it by his hair and you know parading around other things like that. Yeah, that's true. Kind of barbaric, kind of morbid, really, but that's what exactly what they did. All right. So the thing is, this killing King Louis XVI had an effect, not just in France but around the world. Um, there were still some people who were like, felt that, hey, yeah, he did wrong, but you shouldn't have killed him. And it kind of made people kind of feel uneasy. Like, if they can kill a king, who's to stop these people from killing us? You know, and not only that, but it kind of sent a shockwave around the world, and it made a lot of kings and people who were taking advantage of lower people kind of make them go, "Ooh, you know what? I don't want that happening to me." So I'm gonna make sure that kind of stuff does not happen to me. Some people started treating the lower caste people better. Some people treated them harsher and made sure that the poor people couldn't rise up against them and things like that. So uh, it was a chop heard around the world, and some people prepared. Some dictators, some kings took notice. They really did. Okay. Now, disputes started happening between the Girondins and the Jacobians. that caused a blockage in the writing of the Constitution. I know it says mountain. I don't know why. I guess when I typed it, autocorrect probably did that. Yeah, it's supposed to be Jacobians. They had a writing the Constitution, and they kind of had a little argument about what should be there. Now, the National Convention wanted some radical new ideas. One thing they said was price control on food. That basically meant that bread could no longer jump up to like 90, $120, but rather, if it was going to jump, maybe it's jump from, let's say, $3 to $5 max. Max. Maybe at most, absolute most, $10 or something. That's a price control to where the price can't go any higher than this certain thing. Okay. The other one was universal male suffrage. Now, I know suffrage sounds like, oh, to suffer, to like if you get hurt, things like that, you might be suffering. That's not what it is. Suffrage means to vote. So they're saying every male, every man, doesn't matter what kind of man you are, or white, black, whatever, rich, poor, doesn't matter. All men should be allowed to vote. Now I know some of you guys probably thinking, okay, cool. But I'm sure there's some of you guys thinking, well, what about women? Um, I have a worksheet. It talks about that, about the women's, because a woman does step up and mention this, and we're going to be talking about her, I believe, in the next class. So just prepare for that, okay? Keep that in the back of your mind. The people who refused this national convention were the Western French people, the mountain French people. You know, these guys were the ones who said, "Yeah, we don't quite believe in this. We don't really support this 100%." These are known as the Basque French, the Mountain French. Um, these would be my ancestors. They were Basque French. So, yeah, these were the guys who basically put the halt on this whole national convention discussion and ideas of price control and universal suffrage rights to vote for men. All right, so here's your next question. Do you think that chopping someone's head off is the most humane way to do it? Now, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but the word humane means giving the minimum amount of pain. All right. So you think that chopping off someone's head is like the least painful thing people could do to somebody at that time? What else could have been done to execute the king besides chopping his head off? All right. Now I put on here. I just want you guys to remember, just in case some of you guys forgot. Okay. Electricity has not been invented yet. Okay. Electricity has not been invented yet. And the guns they had were still muskets. There was no, automatics, no revolver type of thing. No, it's just musket. The ball, powder, packing, flintlock, click, boom. They still had those guns. So, what do you think? What else could they have done to kill him besides chop his head off? Okay. Now, the writing prompts on the bottom to help you guys out. Again, guys, I strongly recommend, especially for this question, you use this writing prompt. Okay. I believe chopping someone's head off is or isn't the most humane form of execution because, and explain why do you think that is or isn't. Okay. And the second one, I believe another form of execution that could have been used is, what is it? Let me know. Okay. And if you were with me during the Inquisition part, the torture, don't put any of those because those were torturous. Those were bad. Okay. So go ahead, pause the video, write your response because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right. So, thing is, somebody steps up during this French Revolution and takes control of it. That man is Maximilien Robespierre. He was a gifted lawyer. I mean, absolutely amazing speaker. He was a politician who, honestly, his true gift, a God-given gift, was he could like persuade people to do things with his speeches. I mean, he was a phenomenal speaker. He was one of those people like once he started talking, like if you were watching a YouTube video or TikTok, once he started talking about something, it just like made you go, okay, I want to watch the next video. I want to see what he's saying next. What else does he have? Something, whatever thing he has next. I want to see. I want to hear it. He was that good of a speaker. Okay. The Reign of Terror is when the Committee of Public Safety takes control of the government. And guess who is in control of that? Yeah, Robespierre is. Now, in fear that the rebellion will be destroyed because it basically people fighting people, domestic terror threats are dealt with violence. So they didn't want the people like, hey, we want a revolution, we want a rebellion, we want a change. He didn't want this group of rebels and this group of rebels and this group of rebels to all fight each other, before things could actually get done. So they basically said, hey, if you guys attack each other, we're going to come attack you guys. We're going to get you guys. And 40,000 people were killed during this reign of terror. People who were deemed traitors, who felt, hey, the kings and nobles are fine, they're doing good, they were executed. People try to help these guys were executed and killed. People who were counter-revolutionists, people who said, you know what, I don't believe what you guys are doing is right, trying to change this whole system and things like that. You're a counter-revolutionist. Oh, but I don't support the king. Yeah, but you don't support us, so you are a counter-revolutionist. Killed. Executions were held in towns that supported the convention. So places that said, yes, we accept the convention, the national convention, we agree with them, things like that. If towns supported it, they could hold executions in their town. And they would do it in public, like you see in this picture. They would have the setup, right? Guillotine all ready to go, things like that. And they would execute the people. All right. Now, oh, there she is right there. I thought we were going to talk about her next week, but she's already right there. Marie Antoinette, the Queen of France, she would also be executed. And the lady I told you about earlier, who basically felt that women should have rights as well, Olympie, she was executed as well from the guillotine. Now, I had a lot of students ask me in the past, well, didn't you say King Louis XVI had a son? Yes, yes. He had a son with Marie Antoinette, and he was not executed. But what they did do with him is basically re-educate him and basically taught him that what his father, mother, everything that was about them was just wrong and evil, and that what the revolution was setting things right, and it was the right thing to do. So he grew up basically resenting his father and denouncing his mother and father, saying that they got what they deserve and things like that. I mean, just they kind of brainwashed him in a sense, but again, he was a kid and he's hearing this stuff, so and he's seeing all this stuff too. So yeah. All right, so here's your next question. Do you think that with the death of 40,000 noble clergy, and that's what the French people problems will be over? Now that they killed not all of them, again, not all of them, but 40,000 of these guys, do you think the French people's problems are going to be over now? Why or why not? Okay, so let me know. Okay, write your responses, pause the video, okay, because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so here's your exit ticket question. Remember, you're going to answer one of these two questions, whichever one you feel you can answer better. Okay, go with that one. The first one says, do you believe that the reign of terror was necessary? Why or why not? So, again, if you forgot what it was, things like that, go back a little bit to the reign of terror, listen to that really quickly, and tell me, do you believe it was necessary? Why or why not? The next question asks you, what is one difference between the Girondins and the Jacobins? Okay, so write your responses. Okay, once you're finished, you are done with this lesson. Okay, hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Okay, um, also don't forget that this Friday, the 21st of January, the grading period ends. Okay, so be sure you turn in all work that you need to get done. Okay, you guys take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.